based off what we get this year. Doing this now allows us to be able to submit the applications and approvals to HUD once we receive our pot of money, and also get the contracts to the agencies in a timely manner. Shelters, they can only receive ESG money for the operation of their shelter. So shelter services, shelter rent, food for the shelters, this can only be funded with ESG. They cannot use our continuum of care grant funds for that purpose. So always consider the funded agency's ability to raise other funds. We can always partially fund a project and let the agency raise other funds to supplement the ESG award. We can cover rapid rehousing costs. Our COC grants, it does cover mainly majority of those rapid rehousing costs, but our ESG covers stuff that our COC grants cannot cover, such as the utility costs, and it allows these funding sources to be matched together so that clients are able to move in without a large debt. So part of the recommendation, if there is a decrease or increase in any of these budgets, the difference will be applied across the board proportionately to all the programs. If any shelter or street outreach program is unable to accept these grant funds, then that amount will be distributed as well in proportion to the recommended amounts. The ESG program provides funding to individuals who are homeless. It is for the purpose of improving the number and quality of emergency shelters for homeless individuals and families. It is also utilized for helping operate these shelters and providing essential services to shelter residents. It's also used to rapidly rehouse homeless individuals and families and prevent families and individuals from becoming homeless. Transitional housing is not eligible for this funding source. So this is the final recommendation that was presented that was created by the rating panel to be presented. So the recommended amounts, let's see if I can, based on how much each agency has requested. So the amount that was recommended for the Bethesda Center Day Shelter, this is a new shelter that it's not a new shelter, but we have not funded this one as of last year. So the request was for $14,000. The approval was for $14,000. The Bethesda Center Men's Shelter, day and night, the recommended approval was for $20,200. The request was for $80,000. See if I can. Oops, sorry guys. And then we have the women's shelter. That one was approved for $16,000. Our street outreach with Bethesda Center, it was approved for $11,000. And then Citywood Dwelling Street Outreach was approved for $21,256. This will give a better idea of what the current funding is as well right now. So if you see the Citywood Dwellings, let's see if it opens this one. The Citywood Dwellings was already funded at $21,256, so they will maintain their current funding. Family Services Shelter was at $43.75. There's a 2.9% decrease. They were approved for $42,500. The Salvation Army, they have a current FY24 of $28,889, and they would have a slight increase at $30,500. And then you will have the City of Winston-Salem Overflow Shelter. So this shelter is the shelter that is utilized by Winston-Salem Police Department and the Fire Department. These are motel vouchers for if individuals are found during the night when the shelters and shelter staff are off duty or unable to take people in. So they use those vouchers to place someone in the shelter at night, and then a staff member follows up the next day to help them get into Salvation Army or somewhere else. Samaritan Ministries is another one of our individual shelters. Their current funding is at 48,501, and they will maintain their current funding. That is the shelters and street outreach. Our housing programs. So we have United Way for their HMIS data coordination at 16,500, remaining at the current funding rate. And then rapid rehousing. Their current funding is 85,138. They did not apply for the city ESG funding this year. So we did increase the pot for the state ESG, which is used for rapid rehousing, so rental assistance, utility deposits, to 48,065. The city of Winston-Salem, since we are the ESG recipient, we plan to still request those funds in $45,000. There was no application submitted by an agency, but we are still going to request those funds from HUD so they can be utilized for rental assistance through the partner agencies. Positive Wellness Alliance, they will have a small decrease in budget. They provide the case management for persons who have HIV or AIDS for housing. So 18,500. And then our data coordination for CES with the City of Winston-Salem and City with Dwellings. So the City of Winston-Salem currently is at 22,000 and will go down to 10,000. City with Dwellings currently does not receive anything, but they will get an increase to 11,500. And then Bethesda Center, who currently receives 22,500, will instead get the 16,500. So that brings our totals up to $178,127 for city ESG, with 52% max for shelter. We have the state ESG 204,421 with 60.3%, with 5 programs being funded for street outreach and shelter. Any questions, concerns?
On the first slide that you had with the shorter boxes, Bethesda's men was like 80,000 and then it went down to 20,000. Why such a big cut if they're not changing how they operate?
So the request was 80,000. And the reason why we can't meet the request is because the budgets are only 178,127 and the 204,421. If we were to fund them at the $80,000 request, we wouldn't be able to fund the other emergency shelters.
Oh, okay. And then where does overflow fit in to this? Or are we not?
We did not receive an application for overflow. There is an overflow here that we currently have and will continue to utilize, but we didn't receive an application under ESG for overflow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any other questions? So Sharika, the winter emergency overflow shelter, is that covered out of these funds or is that covered somewhere else?
So previously it was this year it was covered under COVID. They applied for local money this year. That money has not been announced.
Okay.
Office. So that won't be until June.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or? Okay, well, I make a motion that we approve these funds. Can we get a second?
I'll second
I
that.
second.
Okay, thanks. So is there anyone opposed? Okay, if no one's opposed, then the motion carries and we approve these ESG funds, Sharika.
Okay, thank you. So the next step is that it goes to the city council with approval from you guys, the commission, so that it can be written into our upcoming budget, which starts July 1st.
Great.
So that was all we had on the agenda, besides the April 30th meeting. So on April 30th, I was seeing if Karen was on. She's not. So on April 30th at Salem Lake at 9 a.m., multiple funders as well as agencies, community agencies will be meeting to discuss ways to ensure that continued community support and community services are provided in the idea that federal cuts do happen. So I'm coming up with basically ways that we can still continue to provide the services that we're providing. And if we do have to cut back, ways to make sure that those cuts don't too much negatively affects those that we serve. Jay, am I missing anything?
We are just, as a community, trying to be proactive. We know HUD, Housing and Urban Development, is facing major cuts all around the country. Homelessness services, government funding for homelessness response are facing major cuts all over the country. And we'd love to just be transparent about and clear about the agencies who serve these community members that we are here to serve. How many people are we serving? How much funding do we have right now to provide those services, so that our community leaders can have some conversation about what and how would we continue if government funds at the federal level are cut or go away. So part of it is an opportunity to share what it is we do and how we do it and why, and how we serve our community and the excellence of service we provide, and answer any questions about that, because a lot of people aren't serving homeless clients every day. So it's not necessarily your world. So it's helpful to understand, like, what are our finance procedures, and what are our audits look like, and what are our commitments to quality, and those kinds of things that people who are outside of the service sector may wonder about, but have never toured a shelter, so maybe don't know. So it's just an opportunity to come and share information and answer questions and engage in a bit of community planning to try to think ahead as to what might be coming down the pike and how can we respond.
Thank you, Jay. And if you want to attend, definitely let me know. And we would definitely put you down, especially as a commission member. You are very much welcome. If no one has anything else.
Renee would like to come.
Perfect. Renee, I will put you down. If no one has, I don't have anything else, so I'm turning it back over to Alan.
Okay, so when is our next meeting, Sharika? It's May what?
I am pulling that up right now. Our next meeting is May 15th.
Okay, so I have a board meeting that day, so I will not be able to attend that meeting, just to let you know. So,
Okay.
And so the next meeting then is May 15th, and we look forward to seeing everyone there. And does anyone else have any more business, comments, questions, anything?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
See you next
Have a good
time.
weekend.
Have a great day. Thank
See
you.
y'all. Happy Easter.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.